Hey guys, really quick before we get into the video, these are by far my favorite stories I've read so far, especially the first two. They actually scared me while reading them. My throat's a little messed up. It's been like that for the past month and I really need to get that checked out. But let me know down below what other type of videos I should do. But in the meantime, I hope y'all enjoy listening to these stories as much as I did reading them to you. Like, comment, subscribe, or just enjoy. Thank you. This happened about 4 years ago, back when I was 16. My best friend, let's call him M, and I had this ritual of going for evening walks around our town. It was our way of unwinding and catching up, venting about school, or just talking. Our usual route took us over this bridge that crosses some train tracks. It's not a creepy bridge by any means. It's wide, well lit with streetlights, and we'd walked over a million times without a second thought. Nothing ever felt off until this night. It was a cool summer evening, probably around 10 or 11 p.m. The sky was clear and it was quiet, like always. We were halfway across the bridge, mid-conversation, when one of the streetlights above us started flickering. Not a subtle flicker, but that aggressive, strobe light kind of flickering that makes you stop and look. Then it just died completely. The other lights along the bridge stayed on, so it wasn't a power outage or anything. Just that one light right above us went out. Em and I stopped walking. We didn't say anything at first. We just exchanged a glance until Em said, "Okay, that's creepy as hell," or something like that. But the air felt heavy. I know that sounds cliche, but it's the only way I can describe it. It wasn't just darker because of the light going out. It was like the atmosphere shifted. Like we'd crossed some invisible line into a place we weren't supposed to be. My skin prickled and I swear I felt eyes on me, like something was watching us from somewhere close. I couldn't see anything out of place, but the feeling was so strong it made my stomach churn. Then we heard it. A scream. It came from below the bridge, down where the train tracks run. It echoed off the concrete pillars and steel rails, so loud and sharp, it felt like it pierced right through me. At first, I thought it was a human, a woman maybe, in pain or panic, but it didn't sound right. It was too distorted, like something was trying to sound human, but couldn't quite get it right. The best way I can describe it is like a woman's scream, but warped, like it was being filtered through something unnatural. Not animalistic or mechanical, just wrong. The only way to really know how it sounded was to have to be there. The scream lasted maybe 5 seconds, but it felt like forever. Em and I looked at each other. His eyes were wide, and I could tell he was feeling the same thing I was. Whatever made that sound wasn't supposed to be there. As soon as the scream stopped, the silence was worse. It was like the world was holding its breath, waiting for something else to happen. We didn't stick around to find out what. We ran. I don't think I've ever run that fast in my life. We didn't stop until we were far enough away that the bridge was out of sight, panting and shaking in the middle of the well-lit street. We finally caught our breath. Em just said, "What the heck was that?" I had no idea. My mind went straight to the Wago and Skinwalker stories. The thing is, those legends and stories are from America. We're not there. We're not even close to there. We didn't talk much after that, just walked home as fast as we could, constantly looking over our shoulders. The next day, I checked the news, social media, everything. No reports of missing people, no injured animals, no nothing. Our town is small, and stuff like that would have made waves. Plus, we don't have big predators around here. No bears, no wolves, nothing that could make the sound like that. And violent crime? Practically non-existent. But that scream, it wasn't just some random noise. It felt personal, like it was meant for us to hear. Like we'd stumbled into something's territory, and it wanted us to know. Em and I don't talk much about it anymore, and he always downplays it when we tell it to others. But when it's just us and I bring it up, I can see in his eyes that he remembers it just like I do. I still get chills thinking about it, and I can't help but wonder what was down there under that bridge that night. The second one might be even weirder. It happened about 5 years ago. I used to sleep with my bedroom door open because I was always scared that somebody would come and kidnap me in the middle of the night. So it would be easier to call out to my parents if the door was open. I had grown out of this fear by then, but I still kept the door open out of habit. One night, I woke up for no reason. No noise, no bad dreams, nothing. I just rolled over in my bed and faced the doorway. Something made me open my eyes, almost like an instinct that I didn't know I had. And there, sitting in a squat in the hallway just outside my room, was a boy. At first, I thought it was my younger brother. He was about 10 at the time, and it would have been totally weird for him to be up at night. But the longer I looked, the more I realized this wasn't him. This kid was blue. Not pale, not shadowed, but blue, like his skin was tinted with some unnatural shade. But his eyes were what got me though. They were huge, way too big for a human face, and pitch black, like a shark's eye. But they weren't empty, they reflected the dim light from the moon. He was just sitting there, staring at me. Then slowly, he raised one hand and waved. It was a slow wave, and it went on for quite a bit. My brain immediately went to sleep paralysis. I'd read about it on Reddit, and it's happened to me once before, but it seems like a logical explanation. But here's the thing, I could move. I shifted in bed, blinked a few times, even pitched my arm to make sure I was awake. My body wasn't locked up, I wasn't dreaming. This was real. The weirdest part, I wasn't scared. I should have been freaking out, right? A blue kid with creepy eyes waving at me in the middle of the night. But I felt calm. Like whatever this thing was, it wasn't there to hurt me. It felt like it was just watching me, waiting for me to notice. 1 second I was staring at this kid, and the next, it was morning. I woke up feeling fine, but every detail of the encounter was burned into my brain. The blue skin, the eyes, the waves, it was so vivid. It didn't feel like a dream at all. I checked the hallway the next day, half expecting to find some trace of whatever it was. Nothing. No footprints, no weird marks, nothing out of place. I asked my brother if he'd been up that night, and he looked at me like I was crazy. My parents didn't hear or see anything. I've never seen that blue boy again, but I still sleep with my door closed now. I grew up in a low-income area in London in the early 90s. It was tough, but we had fun. My friends and I used to get up to a lot of mischief. Time was to go to the Golfy Elbit, which meant climbing a wall that separated our neighborhood from a golf course, and we would collect lost golf balls. I don't know why we did it, but hey, we were young and the fluorescent yellow balls were kinda cool to us. Anyhow, during one summer break from school, I went out and met up with my best friend. Nobody else was around that day, which was weird because usually the neighborhood was teeming with our friend group. I know that seems trivial, but the whole neighborhood had an unusual, quiet, strange vibe. I remember it was a perfect day. We wandered around, talking for a while, and inevitably, we got bored, and he suggested a trip to the golfer to see if we could find any balls. So off we went on the short walk. It wasn't far, but I remember that we just couldn't find anyone around. I don't know, it was bizarre to say at least, like we could hear normal neighborhood noises, as you would expect, but we just never encountered anybody. I remember we commented on it being strange, and actually summarized that maybe all of our friends had the same idea as us, and would be at the golf course waiting for us. Not unusual given none of us had phones, and we would just randomly meet in a few places, most of which we had already passed at this point. So we arrived at the wall that we usually scrambled over to get to the golfy. My best friend hopped up before me and sat astride it to pull me up. Once we were both up, we looked at each other, perplexed. I genuinely remember to this day the confusion in his face. We looked over at that place we had been hundreds of times before, and it was different. Instead of a small wooded area that gave onto the golf course, it was a huge paved area full of rows of greenhouses and odd-looking square areas that looked like they were meant for plants. These greenhouses were not new though. Matter of fact, they looked abandoned, old, and not taken care of. Most of them had plastic sheets over the sides where the glass used to be, and they were flapping gently in the summer breeze. The squared areas had weeds and the sort growing out of them, likewise the paving slabs that made up the floor. We sat there for a while, watching. We had no clue what to make of it. Obviously, this was too good to be true in our minds, and once the initial surprise wore off, curiosity set in. We both hopped down and began to explore the place. I know it sounds crazy, but the whole area was just off, like it just didn't seem normal. I can't explain it to this day, but we both were sticking close to each other, even though we were laughing and kidding as we got further in. We looked in the greenhouses, and they were just full of run-down equipment of some sort and overgrown with weeds and plants. After about 20 minutes of exploration, I remember we stopped and looked around, kind of in disbelief at how big this whole area was. We hadn't changed direction, and now, in the middle of it all, could neither see the neighborhood nor the golf course. This is when it got really messed up. As we stood there, my friend looked at me and said, "Do you hear that?" The look on his face was dead serious, and I stood still, listening. "What? What are you talking about?" I asked him back. He just put his finger to his lips and listened more. Then I heard it, like a really low hum, like some high voltage of some electricity. I don't know, something between a hum and a buzz. As we stood there, it got louder and louder, as if it was getting closer, but not from any particular direction, from all around us. We stared at a brisk walk back to where we came. The buzz kept getting louder until we panicked and started to run. As we ran, and I mean full sprint, through these weird constructions, we started hearing something behind us. I can't explain it, almost like a mechanical noise. Not like a human or animal, like the plastic sheeting and the way the place was laid out made it impossible to see anything more than 10 to 15 centimeters behind us, so we never saw what it was, but it was there, right behind us. We must have ran hard for maybe 3 or 4 minutes in pure adrenaline, and I remember getting to that wall completely empty and using the last bit of energy I had to climb over it. Once over it, both of us threw up, probably from the fact we just sprinted so hard for so long. We made our way back through the neighborhood, and everything seemed normal again. People, cars, activity was business as usual. The messed up part is, once we explained what happened to our friend group, they obviously all wanted to go see what we had found and what chased us. Understandably, because it sounded insane. The next day, a whole group of us, maybe 10 to 12 went back down to see the place. It wasn't there, and I swear, we went up and down that wall for an hour looking for it. It just wasn't there. There's no way it was in some other place. We only used that wall to get there, and given the sheer size of that area, even if we were off by 100 to 200 meters, we would have seen it. Nothing. Literally, nothing. Me and my friend occasionally spoke about it, like, "Hey, remember that day?" But never really more than that. I guess life happened and we went our different ways. Hell, maybe he'll read this and recognize the story. Either way, only the two of us knew about it until now. It was a summer night, probably late July or early August. It was warm out, so a friend and I had gotten into the habit of driving around late at night, just to talk. We do loops outside the city, the kind of quiet, empty roads that cut through the French countryside. No real destination, just driving and talking, windows cracked and music low. One night, it was around 1:30 a.m. The road was completely empty, no streetlights, no visible houses, just open fields on both sides. We were going slow, maybe 50 kilometers, talking about something personal, and then suddenly, My friend hits the brakes. He didn't yell or panic, just a sharp reflexive stop. And there, in the headlights, I saw a man crossing the road. He came out of the fields to our left, walking towards the one on the right. What immediately struck me was that he was completely naked. His skin was an oddly pale, flat beige, almost like a dull gray. But that's not what stuck with me. It was the way he moved. He didn't walk like a drunk or hurt someone. It was more like he didn't weigh anything. His steps were slow and floaty, almost like he was forcing his body to move forward. His arms, they hung loose, his head tilted slightly down. He never turned towards us. No reaction to the lights, the sound, nothing. He crossed slowly and disappeared into the field on the other side. We were silent for a couple of seconds. Then my friend muttered, "Was he naked?" and suddenly accelerated. We drove back towards the main road, not saying much. I wasn't scared exactly, but I felt this deep, uneasy knot in my stomach, like what I saw didn't make sense. Not just the man, but the entire moment. The next day, out of curiosity, we went back in the afternoon. We recognized the spot easily because of a twisted tree by the roadside, but when we looked around, there was nothing. No trail, no path, no house nearby, just two big fields and the same quiet road cutting through. I have no rational explanation for what we saw, but I know what I saw, and I know it wasn't normal.